Hey everyone, Wanderbots here, and welcome back to the Steam Monster Summer Sale. Daily deal video with flash sales included, because you know what, I'd rather do one of these videos than multiple of them. So, I'm going to start skipping past things really fast. If it's not a good deal, if it's not a good game, I'm not going to talk about it, or if it's just a game I don't know about it or didn't like. So let's talk about the good deals, starting with the Fable Anniversary game. At $8.75, 75% off, it's not a bad deal if you've never gotten into Fable games before. It's an HD remake of the original Fable game, and it's fairly good. They've ironed out most of the bugs. Unfortunately, the game is expensive for its age. It's an old, original Xbox game. Can't say Xbox One game anymore because it doesn't work that way anymore. Okay, so at $8.75, it's a little bit steep for such an old game, even if it's been remade HD. There are no new features, no new extra campaign stuff. The only thing that they added to the game is DLC, which you have to buy on top of this. So if you want to get the entirety of the Fable Anniversary game, it is $13. Absolutely not worth it, unless you really like action RPGs. Really, it's not worth it if you've played Fable before and you're going to be moderately angry about the existence of Fable Anniversary Edition. But if you've never played a Fable game before, it's a good price. I'm just of two minds because I love the Fable games, but this is kind of a step back and kind of exploitative, especially price point wise. Seriously, the base price is $35. What? Okay, next up is Reign of Kings, which is $12, 40% off. Not the greatest deal. It is early access, so it's understandable. That said, these are the people that made Starforge and effectively abandoned Starforge. Therefore, my confidence in Reign of Kings is a little bit on the low side. Also, it's no longer involved. It's no longer in vogue. Ark has taken over as far as the most recent major open-world sandbox game. Admittedly, that one's dinosaurs instead of medieval, but that's where the player base is for the next month or two until the next one shows up. So if you really want to get into Reign of Kings, go for it. Personally, I would say skip it. The developers don't seem to be doing a very good job of it anyway, introducing a lot of bad game-breaking bugs, and nobody's really happy about it. So, I don't know, I'd say skip it at a $12 price tag. Okay. Next up, Vanishing of Ethan Carter, atmospheric story adventure game where you go around looking for a missing kid who there's also murder and Cthulhu. There's a lot of Cthulhu in this game, at least as far as I've heard, and that is a very good thing. So, if you liked Dear Esther and you were looking for something a little bit deeper, a little bit more interactive, and just a little bit all-around better, Vanishing of Ethan Carter is absolutely worth picking up. It's got some really nice art design, it's got some really nice music, and the story is phenomenal. So, if you like a story-based adventure game, this is the way to go. Next up is Insurgency. It's a realistic, competitive shooter. There is a cooperative co-op VAI mode, which I assume is just kind of wave defense. But Insurgency is damn good if you're into realistic shooters. So if you like Counter-Strike, if you like Arma, Insurgency is probably worth picking up. Price point of $3.75. Or if you want to get a 4-pack, it's $11.25. It is worth picking up. That said, if you're not into shooters and want to get into the series, I'd say go find something else. This is going to be a little bit on the merciless side. And, it's easier to get into a genre with something a little bit more fun. Next up, Grim Fandango Remastered. At $70 at $7.50, 50% off. Not exactly the best deal. That said, if you're looking to get into Grim Fandango, you heard about it for years, or if you played it way back in the day and you want to play like a more modern version that actually controls well, Grim Fandango Remastered is absolutely worth picking up. That said, it's not a great deal. Comparatively, price will probably go lower by at least a later point in time. I want to say $3.75 by next Christmas or next summer, so take that as you will. Okay, next up is the Call of Duty franchise. Nothing is on sale for more than 50% off, and that means most of the modern games are either 20 or $30, which, as far as I'm concerned, is not worth picking up. But, you know, that's just me being a bit of a curmudgeon and thinking that, you know, the Call of Duty games are wildly overpriced for the pedigree, even if it used to be one of the most popular game series back in the day. Endless Legend, absolutely worth picking up. It's the worst / best deal of the sale, I think. This is the historic low at 50% off. The price might drop by next Christmas, but I'd make no promises. It's been out for a fair while now, and the price point does not seem to be going down that far that fast. So if you're looking to get into the series, now is a fine time to do it. It's the best 4X strategy game I've played since Masters of Orion 2, which is ancient. And I have played a heck of a lot of Civilization 5. I find Endless Legend to be vastly superior. They have an expansion pack out. Now, it only adds a couple of things, but it's fairly cheap. So if you're looking into getting the game, I'd say get the base game and then consider getting the DLC later. It goes on sale fairly frequently. Just not for that much. Sometimes it actually goes on sale for higher than this. So take that as you will. But if you want to get into 4X strategy games, or if you love 4X strategy games, Endless Legend is the way to go. Okay, next up is Aliens franchise. Skip everything. Alien Isolation is good if you like survival horror, so if you like Dark Descent, Outlast, whatever, Alien Isolation is probably worth picking up. That said, it's $12.50, and the DLC is an additional $7.50. So unless you're really passionate about survival horror games, I'd say this deal is ultimately passable until they do a Game of the Year edition and drop the price down a little bit more. But that's just me being cheap. Next up is Transistor. Transistor is $5, 75% off, though I highly recommend buying the soundtrack in addition, which I think is an extra $1.20, $2.50, somewhere in there. But Transistor is made by the same people that made Bastion. It's gorgeous. It has great music. Highly, highly recommended from pretty much anybody that's ever played it. It's technically not as good as it's not as good as its predecessor in terms of like gameplay and stuff and implied story, but I personally really enjoyed Transistor regardless. I guess I was just looking for Bastion 2, and it wasn't Bastion 2. Hence the some level of hesitation here. But again, with the price tag, it is absolutely worth picking up. Okay, next up is the Far Cry franchise. Now you can get Far Cry 4 for $30. It is co-op, so that is actually ultimately a pretty good deal. But again, if you haven't gotten into the Far Cry games before, I'd recommend starting with Far Cry 3. It's got a better story, better villains, better whatever, and is ultimately the same game. There's almost no difference between the two. And Far Cry 3 is $7.50 as opposed to $30, and I think you can get the complete edition for $10. So there's that, as opposed to you have to buy the season pass for Far Cry 4, which is a little bit more expensive. But my true recommendation would actually be for $3.75. I highly recommend picking up the Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. It has nothing to do with Far Cry 3, but you're running around as kind of a sci-fi action hero, and you have like a button for giving somebody the finger. It's really campy, it's really stupid, and that's the beauty of the game. So that'd be my recommendation. It's the cheapest, and it's a good way of getting into the series without getting like too invested in it, because it's a heck of a lot shorter. But it's also better, just in my opinion. Okay, next is Game Dev Tycoon. If you like Tycoon games, Game Dev Tycoon is worth picking up. You're effectively running a game design studio and expanding, making new games, yada yada yada. There's a fair amount of replayability, but ultimately it's kind of more RPG mechanics that push you forward, not, good choices Tycoon-wise. That said, at a price point of $5, you're probably going to get your money's worth out of this one. It's fairly entertaining, and it's fairly good quality. There is a mobile game that is fairly similar that Game Dev Tycoon is based off of, but, I mean, it's ultimately your choice whether or not you want to go that way or this way. I think Game Dev Tycoon is just a little bit deeper. Okay, next one is H1Z1. I do not recommend the game. The developers have a bit of a bad reputation and generally have kind of redeemed themselves, but the main reason why I don't recommend this game and why I'm not going to talk about it too much, it's got a very robust cash shop system, so they're planning on going free to play the moment this game releases in, full release. Unfortunately, that might not be for quite a while, but ultimately if you're going to be getting this game now, you're going to get a half-completed product, and it's going to cost you money. Sometimes that's okay. In this case, it doesn't feel like it. There's less of a player base now, and it's still only moderately functional. So my recommendation, wait, get it for free, and then actually have fun with it, because there's no reason for rushing at this point. Okay, next is the Sid Meier's Civilization franchise. Now, you could get Civilization Beyond Earth, but everybody considers it to be inferior to Civ 5, so I'm not even really going to talk about it. It's not even that good of a deal. It's 60% off and, like, what, $20? At that point, get Endless Legend. That said, Civ 5 for $12.50, very good deal. I think it's the cheapest price I've seen it. I think it's the historical low, and I don't think it's going to drop until they announce Civilization 6. That said, get Civilization 5 if you really want strategy games, but I'd still highly recommend Endless Legend instead. I'm a bit of a shill for that franchise, but I think it's more interesting. Faction differences are way more pronounced, and overall it's just a better, deeper game. but, you know, people are going to disagree with me on that one. Fine. If you like 4X strategy games and you don't have either, pick up both. But ultimately, I would say, if you have to choose between one and the other, pick up Endless Legend. It's more interesting. Next up, Banner Saga. Banner Saga is $5, 75% off. It does have the soundtrack included, and you might as well pick it up for $1.25. That's a lot of music for not a lot of money. The game drips with style, has great music, gameplay is good. It's a tactical RPG, story-based. There's choices, there are consequences. You will lose people, you will gain people, yada yada yada. It's very good, and I think they're working on a second one. So, if you like tactical RPGs at all, Banner Saga, absolutely worth picking up. Okay, next up is Left 4 Dead. If you like cooperative shooters and you like killing a lot of zombies, Left 4 Dead is absolutely worth picking up. I mean, do I need to say more? Most people have heard about the game. That said, if you don't have friends to play with, it can be a little bit of a bore. The game's online multiplayer is still very populated, but it's just a lot less fun when you're not working with friends to take, you know, zombies down. Okay, flash sales. These are up for the next 30 hours. What? That's confusing. Okay, well, whatever. Flash sales. First and foremost, How to Survive. At 75 cents, you really can't go wrong with this game. It's a cooperative zombie survival game. There's crafting, there's leveling, and overall, it's actually fairly good. But the main point is the price point is so low that you're probably not going to be busting your wallet for it, if you like zombie survival games especially. So I recommend picking it up in sheer terms of it's incredibly cheap. Next up is Town of Salem, which is if you ever played Mafia as a kid, where you've got one person that's evil murdering everybody else, and you got one person that's the detective trying to catch the killer. Town of Salem is like if you took that and made it a lot deeper. There's Mafia people, there's like a mystic, there's like there's murder, and there are just a lot of factions, there's a lot of interesting stuff, and it's entirely based on, like, I guess, social engineering. It's a cool game, and at $2.50 is absolutely worth picking up. Next up is Luftrausers, a Vlambeer game. You play as an airplane, you're running around blowing up ships, blowing up other planes, and it's a shoot 'em up. Or, it's a bullet hell, my bad. I forgot there's actually a difference between the two. That said, it's got a fairly simple art style, but it's not a bad game at all. In fact, it's actually really, really fun, really arcadey, kind of complicated, and kind of freakishly hard. But I've heard very good things about the game, and I would recommend it only because Vlambeer's pedigree is amazing. There is actual customization for your ship. Looks like you can actually switch between bullets, lasers, missiles, and all sorts of other things. Also, it looks like the controls are pretty damn good. So I highly recommend this game as well, especially if you like bullet hell shooter type games. And the music is pretty good to go with it as well. Okay, next up is Thief. Not at the lowest price I've ever seen it for. I think it was in a humble bundle for cheaper. That's it if you're interested in the Thief games. Now, this Thief title is not a bad place to start. The other ones are a bit dated, but better. So it's kind of one of those where it's a bit controversial because a lot of the original fans for the games don't like this one that much. But as far as modern titles go, it's not a terrible thing to pick up either. So kind of 6 of one, half a dozen the other, but if you're interested in kind of like stealth simulator type games, it's not a bad choice. Okay, next up is Defense Grid 2. $5.50, 70% off. This is a damn good price. It's a tower defense game. It's got co-op, it's got multiplayer, and it's got a fairly in-depth campaign mode, and it's not bad to look at either. Unfortunately, Defense Grid 1, which I consider to be the superior game, is currently not on sale at all, which is kind of ridiculous. I really wish there was a Defense Grid 1 and 2 bundle, because Defense Grid 1 is amazing. And, like, 2 is okay, it just doesn't quite have the same magic that the first one did. That said, I really do recommend Defense Grid 2. It's a fairly complicated tower defense game, and it's just fun to play. And it's got I believe it's got a full cooperative campaign. I haven't played that part yet, so I can't really say. But, again, $5.50. If you like tower defense games, you really can't go wrong with this one. Okay, next up is State of Decay Year 1 Survival Edition. Unfortunately, State of Decay Year 1 Survival Edition is the only State of Decay still available on Steam. So if you want to get a State of Decay game, this is the only one. State of Decay is a zombie survival kind of third-person shooter slash like hack and slash RPG. There's not too much RPG involved, but it's It's a fairly good game. They remastered it in 1080p, added a lot of extra stuff, better fighting, textures, animations, yada yada yada. Unfortunately, and I'm not entirely sure how recent these reviews are. Oh, whoa, these reviews are recent. The game released back in April, and I'm looking at a lot of negative recent reviews, all saying that it's nice, but they made things buggier with this version. A lot of people really wanted to get into it, and like honestly, if you do want to get into State of Decay, this is the only way to go. But unfortunately, it seems like they broke a large number of things in releasing this game as well. They have updated the game a little bit to fix issues with textures and whatnot, but it might actually be a good idea to wait. A lot of people are mad about this game. Wow, a lot of people are really mad about this game. So you might want to give it a pass until the dust is settled around State of Decay. It's not a bad price at $9, it's 70% off, but seems like a lot of people are mad about it, and that's usually a pretty good indication that hold off on that one. And, I mean, if it never gets fixed, this is the extent that you'll be at, but it'll be cheaper the next time around. Probably. Okay, next up is Red Faction Guerrilla, which is a bit dated, came out in 2009. However, if you want kind of a ridiculous romp through all sorts of things, there's vehicles, there's whatever, it's an open world shooter, sci-fi shooter. You're on Mars, there's a story, and it's just damn good. It was succeeded by Red Faction Armageddon, which wasn't necessarily a bad game, but Guerrilla was downright way more fun, way better. I guess Grand Theft Auto on Mars is sort of works? I don't know. Maybe it's closer to Just Cause, without the grappling hook, but instead with extremely destructible environments and some really neat looking vehicles. So at a price tag of $4, 80% off, absolutely worth picking up. I would actually say picking up the Red Faction collection might not be a bad idea as well. You can get the entirety of the series for $9. Really, actually, no, never mind. I'm going to backtrack on that one. My recommendation would be, instead of picking up the collection, pick up Red Faction Guerrilla, which is $4, and Red Faction Armageddon, which is $4. I guess it's about the same thing. But Red Faction Guerrilla is the better game. Armageddon ain't bad either. So I guess pick up both. That's my opinion. They're great third-person shooters, and generally just a lot of fun to play. Even if I think at this point this series is dead, you can still get a fair amount of fun out of them. Okay, next up, Train Simulator. Don't care about it. I skipped over Face Rig because I also don't care about Face Rig. It's a gimmick more than anything else. Maybe there's some functionality to it, but I don't see it. Okay, Warhammer franchise. None of these are good deals. There's a Relic Humble Bundle a little while back. You might be able to buy some side-ordered keys from various gray marketplaces. I hate recommending that sort of thing. But I also hate that the Warhammer games are, like, years old at this point. Like, 4 or 5 years old. And still only 66% off, you know, $10 each. And if you want to get the entire collection, it's $54. That's pretty steep. Like, Space Marine. It's $10 or $20 if you want the DLC. That's really steep for fairly old games comparatively. Especially if you want to get all of them. So, I don't know. This is not a very good deal. Bully Scholarship Edition. I know next to nothing about the Bully series, but I've heard very good things, and with the price point of $3, that's pretty much... I don't think it's the historical low, I think I've seen it a little bit lower, but again, $3 is a very, very cheap game for one of Rockstar's many masterpieces, but this is kind of the weird side masterpieces that actually turned out quite well. So, you might want to do some research whether or not Bully's good, but, like, a good fit for you, but this is a good price for you, so... there's that. Okay, next up is Murdered Soul Suspect, another game that's probably worth taking a look at if you're interested in murder mystery, horror, survival type things. You play as a dead dude, and you're trying to figure out who killed you. It's actually not a bad game. A lot of people are really disappointed in it, but ultimately, at a price point of $6, 80% off, this is not a bad price for Murdered Soul Suspect. And, you know, a lot of those complaints were surely just, it was short and wasn't quite what the EA trailer hyped it up to be. So, I don't know. I liked the game, and I would recommend it at this price point. It's probably not going to get much cheaper than this. It wasn't a Humble Bundle, so you might already have it, but if you don't, again, not a bad price. Next up is Super Meat Boy. Damn good game, but don't buy it here. Go buy it from the current Humble Bundle, which I think you can get this plus like 3 other games for $1. As well as some other beat the average prices, which are all fantastic. So, again, do not buy Super Meat Boy from here. You're wasting your money. Okay, well, I guess you're not really wasting your money, but still, you can be savvier than this. Okay, next up is Gauntlet. Gauntlet is a fairly good game. It's made by the people that made Magicka. Personally, I don't like it that much, just because it made me hate my friends a lot. By the time I was done with it, effectively there's a very limited number of healing items in the game, and other players can blow them up. So all the ranged characters get to be giant jerks, while all the people stuck as melee characters get very frustrated at them. I don't like the balancing in the game, and it's not as much of a romp as I thought it was going to be. My recommendation would be, go look for Hammerwatch, pick that up instead. There's also no 4-pack for, well, there's a 4-pack for Gauntlet, but it's currently not on sale, so if you want to buy 4 copies, it's going to be 20 bucks instead of presumably 15. So, again, if you're looking to pick up Gauntlet, there are better games, and there are better deals than this. It's not going to get any cheaper if you're buying it solo, but you really don't want to play this game alone. Next up, Legend of Korra, $3.60. Fairly good deal for the game. It's a Platinum game. A lot of people are disappointed because it wasn't on par with Bayonetta or really any other Platinum game. It does feel kind of like a budget Platinum game. That said, budget Platinum games are still damn good. It's a very good Legend of Korra game, very good Avatar game, and highly recommended if you liked that series. And it's fairly fun to play. That said, if you're not that fan of the TV show, it's ultimately skippable. I would say go pick up, you know, another Platinum game along the way, like Metal Gear Rising, which I assume is going to be fairly cheap within the next couple of days. Okay, next up is Apotheon, which, don't let the weird art style fool you. This is actually one of the better RPG platformers to come out of the last year. It looks like Greek pottery, but the game itself plays very, very well, and it's a fairly deep game too, so it's actually probably one of the best games of this year. I forgot it came out in February. Wow, this is cheap. This is a damn good deal. Base price is 15 bucks and down to $3.75. So, I guess I consider this a recommendation. It's only on sale for a couple more hours, but still. Okay, Super Time Force Ultra. Again, like Apotheon, a fairly newish game, came out last August, and actually is, as far as I'm concerned, is the hidden indie gem / sale of the day. It's 70% off for $4.50. It is gorgeous, it has great music, and the gameplay itself is weird, but wonderful. So I highly recommend this one. If you like platformers, if you like, you know, retro-looking games, if you like the Metal Slug series, you're probably going to enjoy this one a lot. So, you really cannot go wrong with this price. I am absolutely in favor of this deal. Okay, next is Blackguards 2. Do not buy this game, sort of. Do not buy this game on its own. If you want to get, if you already have Blackguards 1, ignore me, but you can also make your decision there. But if you're interested in picking up a Blackguards game, it's much more, it's a much better deal actually buy the Blackguards franchise bundle for $8.24 than Blackguards 2 by itself for $8.75. In fact, instead of buying Blackguards 2 at all, buy the franchise bundle, it's cheaper. Which is kind of silly. But if you've never heard Blackguards before, this is a weird trailer for the game. It's a turn-based, hex-based tactical RPG. There are role-playing elements, there's decisions, but ultimately everything boils down to moving around a hex-based grid and fighting other monsters, other people, and stuff like that. They're very long games. I think Blackguards 1 is like over 100 hours long, maybe? I mean, that's if you do all the side quests, which is generally recommended. And Blackguards 2 is comparably long. The unfortunate part is, they're not exactly the best games. They're incredibly unbalanced, and there are certain mechanics that, like, there are certain character builds that are just going to be vastly better than others, and there are certain character builds that are going to be completely worthless. So, I honestly recommend the games. I really enjoyed Blackguards 1, and I have not played a whole lot of Blackguards 2, but it was fairly good as well. But if you can, if you're really into tactical RPGs, they're worth picking up, but I do recommend looking up character builds before you get into them. Otherwise, you might end up building your characters into a corner and not really being able to cope as a result. Okay, next up is Road to Redemption. Don't know about this game, not going to talk about it. Same thing with RPG Maker VX, though if you're interested in RPG Maker stuff, this looks like a fairly good deal. Don't know what the reviews are. I'm going to assume very positive. Yeah, it's pretty much the only thing on the market. So I guess pick it up if you're into that sort of thing. Next up is Bound by Flame, which plays kind of similarly to, I guess, Witcher 2, Witcher 3, and I guess Dragon Age 2? I want to say Dragon Age 2 had a similar combat system, but, you know, kind of action RPG. Blocking, dodging, yada yada yada. Unfortunately, it's very short comparatively, it's very unsatisfying, and almost all of the characters are largely unlikable. And if you want to play as the female character, I would not recommend it. The voice acting is terrible. That said, it does have one of the better soundtracks of RPG I've played in quite a while. And ultimately, if you've already burned through Witcher, if you've already burned through every single Dragon Age game, then Bound by Flame is not a terrible choice. This is a very good deal for the game. I personally just feel burned because it just was not a very high quality product in comparison. But again, if you're interested in the genre, it's not a terrible title to pick up and play. Okay, next up is Space Run. It's, don't let the name distract you. It's a tower defense game. You make a ship, add towers to it, and defend against other ships coming to blow you up. It's a weird concept, but it works. And it's actually a really good tower defense game, so kind of like Defense Good 2. If you like tower defense games, Space Run's probably worth picking up. Next is Agarist, which is a tactical RPG, but it's also incredibly anime-y. I think it's a tactical RPG. It might actually just be like a flat-out... No, it is tactical. It's got a grid-based thing. But it's fairly high quality. The problem is it's got a little bit too waifu-y for most people. So if you really don't like anime, especially the more kind of like awkward anime tropes, then probably stay away from Agarist. That said, if you don't mind those things, Agarist 2 is actually a fairly good tactical RPG and generally worth picking up. I'm probably not going to pick it up just because I don't have a whole lot of patience for that sort of thing. Okay, next up is Invisible Incorporated. Invisible Incorporated, I've been doing videos on it. It's a damn good game. It plays kind of similarly to XCOM, but you're sneaking in, knocking people out, stealing secrets, stealing money, and building up to a final confrontation. It's got roguelike elements, but it's mostly just kind of randomly generated, which is the main sell. So the game has not quite infinite replayability, but it's got quite a lot of depth, a lot of customization, a lot of cool things that you can unlock along the way. So, at a price point of $13.32, 33% off, it's not a very good deal, but it's a damn good game, so I recommend it anyway. That said, if you want to wait, the price will absolutely get lower. It's also a Clay game, so these are the people that made Mark of the Ninja, and don't starve. So if you want to support very good development, this is a good way to go. Next up is Inverbis Virtus, which is a spellcaster simulator. You actually speak the spells. It's $5, 75% off. It's a good deal. I haven't played it yet. I've heard very good things about it. But if you want to pretend to be a wizard, this is about as close as you're going to get for a while. At least in a video game sense. And I've heard I've seen some very good scores, review sites, I don't even know. I'm just fishing for details on this one. But it seems like a good game if you want to be a wizard. Okay, next up is the Metal Slug franchise. This one's a bit of a grain of salt. Personally, I have the Metal Slug pack for the Wii for like $10, and that's every single Metal Slug game, so that none of these seem particularly worth it. That said, if you go into the sale, you can get Metal Slug X and Metal Slug 3 for $2 a piece, and that is absolutely worthwhile on a price basis. Metal Slug, the original Metal Slug and the Metal Slug Defense Mega Pack are not worth getting. It's not a very good sale for either of them, so skip those for the time being. Go for X, go for 3. Speaking of sales, Orion Prelude, yes, it's only 51% off, but the game itself has a base price of $1. The developers have had a bit of a spotty history, but I feel like they've done a lot to redeem themselves. But it's a very good game if you want to buy a 4-pack and go shoot some dinosaurs with friends. It's not going to be the deepest game you'll ever play, but it's at least fun, especially for the price point. Okay, next is Match Your Friends, which effectively plays like QWOP, but it's actually one of the deepest games I've played in a very long time, which is weird because you're playing as half-naked men with twirly dicks. It's $2 at 60% off. That's the cheapest I've ever seen it, and I highly recommend picking it up. I think there's also a 4-pack you can get for $6. Yes. Character skins are customizable, and there is a not safe for work mode if you want to not stare at twirling dicks and stuff like that. So I recommend the game. It's one of my favorite games to play on nightly stream, just kind of to relax, have fun, make fun of each other, and try and make the weirdest man pile you can ever do. Because the entire premise is you're trying to either make a tower to the sky out of frozen man people, or I guess off into the distance on a horizontal basis. It's really well done, and it's really fun to do. And I don't know, I really recommend it. So price point $2, absolutely worth picking up, especially if you have at least one other friend to play the game with. Playing it alone, there are single-player modes, but they're just not as fun, because you can't make fun of other people as they sail off into the distance or fall off of the tower, because they missed a grab and then lose, which is great. Okay, next up is, I'm going to skip Natural Selection, Prototype 2, Lost Planet 3, and King's Bounty because either I don't know about them or they're not very good sales. Mainly not a good sale with Natural Selection 2 or King's Bounty, and Prototype 2 is a bad deal too. And Lost Planet 3 is just a bad game comparatively. Okay, Julia Among the Stars, very good point and click. Don't think it's gonna get any cheaper than this. So if you like point and click adventure games, this is not a bad one to look into. Plants vs. Zombies, Game of the Year edition, 78% off at $1.09. It's a damn good tower defense game and highly recommended. If you do not own this game and if you've never played a tower defense game before, this is an absolute steal and I highly recommend picking it up. Okay, next is Sanctuary RPG Black Edition, which is it feels like a MUD, kind of plays like a MUD. It's a roguelike-ish, but the entire premise is, I don't actually know what the premise is, but it's everything is done in ASCII, so make sure you're okay with that level of art style before you get into the game. It's fairly good, fairly deep, but it's definitely not that pretty comparatively, so if you're a shallow person like me, might be kind of hard to get into. That said, it is very good, and they put a lot of work into it, so I guess to some base level, it's worth picking up if you like that sort of thing. Just, again, grain of salt, the art style might take some getting used to. And lastly, speaking of art styles, Evil Land, which goes through pretty much from Final Fantasy 1 to Final Fantasy something else, I don't know. I guess closest to Crystal Chronicles, but it goes through various stages of JRPGs throughout the ages, which mostly Final Fantasy style. It's actually a very good game. It's a bit short, unfortunately, but with the price tag of $2.50, 75% off, it is absolutely worth picking up if you like JRPGs in any way, shape, or form, because it's kind of like an homage to every kind of JRPG you ever grew up with, especially if you're my age, so pretty much 20 or older, give or take. But it's good. It's got a lot of quality. The art style changes practically every single chapter. I don't know, it changes very quickly. But that's not necessarily a bad thing either. So, I recommend this game. It's a lot of fun, and you won't regret buying it. Okay, long episode, no matter what I do about this one, but let's quickly go over sales that are actually worth picking up. Top to bottom, actually I lost my ordered list, but still, Transistor, $5, 75% off, worth picking up. Same thing with Banner Saga. Both are very good RPGs, and very well done artistically, story-wise, yada yada yada. Endless Legend, not exactly the greatest deal, but it's an amazing game. I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite games to play, and it's my favorite 4X strategy game of the past, ever since Masters of Orion 2, which is a long time. Let's see. Vanishing of Ethan Carter. Vanishing of Ethan Carter. $6.79. It's a good price if you're looking into atmospheric adventure games, and I highly recommend it. How to Survive. Zombie survival game, super cheap, mainly recommended as a result of that. Let's see, Defense Grid 2, damn good tower defense, $4.50. Apotheon, $3.75, great platformer RPG, interesting style. Same thing with Super Time Force Ultra at $4.50. Let's see, what other games are there? Mount Your Friends, $2. Absolutely fun to play with friends, not so fun to play alone. So if you've got friends to play with frequently, Mount Your Friends is probably the most important game of the sale today. Followed by Orion Prelude, not so much that it's a super important or super high quality game, just that it's dirt cheap and you can probably get some time out of it. And lastly, I guess Red Faction Guerrilla, just because it's a good romp through Mars in all sorts of vehicles, and you can destroy everything. I've probably missed one or two there, but those are the ones that stand out to me. So, with that is all of the sales for June 14th. And I guess with that, if you like this video in any way, shape, or form, please leave me a like. It helps more than you know, and it also lets me know that you want to see more of these. If you want to argue with me on the merits of Endless Legend versus Sid Meier's Civilization 5, or, discuss any other games, leave a comment below. And if you want to see more of these videos, well, I'm going to be doing one for every day of the rest of the sale, as well as I think I'm going to start doing them for, humble bundles and major weekend sales and other things that I noticed along the way that are worth picking up. So, if you want to see more, hit subscribe because I'm going to be doing a heck of a lot more. That said, I'll see you guys tomorrow, June 15th, for the next Steam Summer Monster Sale Daily Deal Flash Sale combo video. And maybe I can work on Brevity even more, even though there's so many things for me to talk about. I've been talking a lot here. So, I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.